Hi, guys, welcome to the discussion of the headlines of the day from the Hindu newspaper dated February 18, 2022. We'll be discussing the important headlines, which is important for your exam preparation in the subject wise manner, starting from General Studies Paper 1, followed by General Studies Paper 2, and so on. Well, if we talk about General Studies Paper 1 today, so there is nothing as such in today's The Hindu News edition, which is important to keeping in mind the General Studies Paper 1. So we'll skip that part. We'll start discussing the General Studies Paper 2 relevant articles here. So, firstly, if I take you on page number 1, we see this headline coming from General Studies Paper 2, relevant to polity and governance topic. The headline says that the Supreme Court lift stays on Haryana quota for private jobs. Now, with this, you should be aware about the recent observations of the Supreme Court in context of Haryana State Employment of Local Candidates Act 2020. Next, you should know that what is Haryana's private sector quota law. Also, you should be aware that which sectors are covered under this act and the objectives of this act and who challenged the state government's law and why did they challenge. You should also make an analysis that whether is this act violative of Article 16 of the Indian Constitution and what lies ahead. So this should be clear to you once you go through this article. Next, this article is again coming from page number 1, relevant to General Studies Paper 2, covering the topic of polity and governance. The headline says that Governor seeks talks with Mamta. Now, you should be aware about the powers of the governors and the friction with the states. You should also have an idea that why is this happening often and what are the best ways to resolve the differences between the governors and the chief ministers. So, if you are asked to comment about the ways to resolve differences between governors and chief ministers, make sure you have some good heavy points to support the answer writing. Next, on page number 5, you see this article which says Kerala seeks review of 2014 Supreme Court verdict on Mullaperiyar Dam. This relates to polity and governance again. You should know that what is the controversy over the Mullaperiyar and what is the status currently, and why is Mullaperiyar Dam a sore point, and what happened in the legal battles. Next, you should have an idea that what is the Supreme Court's ruling in this particular context. The next articles are coming from page number 6 and page number 10, dealing with the topic of international relations, GS paper 2. The first one says itching a trade line to bond beyond oil. And the next one says that India and UAE to sign trade pact today. Now you should know what are the features of India UAE FTA, that is free trade agreement. You should also be aware that what is the India's approach towards the free trade agreement and why UAE has emerged as an economic center in the world and its significance for India, and also know about India and the UAE diplomatic relations. So this becomes very important. Next, if we take a look on page number 7 and page number 10, this is again coming from General Studies Paper 2 from the topic of international relations. The first headline says that, is the post-Cold War security order changing? The second says, India again backs diplomacy at UNSC. Now, you should be aware that what is the conflict going on between Russia and Ukraine. It's because it's going on since a long time, it's quite in news these days. And what is the historical connections should be known to you, and what are the diplomatic efforts to diffuse the crisis? What are Russia's intentions actually, and why is the West concerned? Also, most importantly, you should know what are India's stakes in its ties with each side. So that's all to cover from these particular news today. Next, if you take a look on page number 12, this is again coming from General Studies Paper 2, topic of international relations again. The headline says that China asks India to ensure fair treatment of Chinese firms. Well, this is again a hot topic in news since a long time. You should be aware that what are these new apps and why have they been banned firstly. Now you should know what has China's response been to the ban of the Chinese applications, and what legal options does the Indian government have, and how will the move impact the bilateral relations between India and China. So all these points should be known to you. Next, if you take a look on page number 10, this is again coming from General Studies Paper 3 from the topic of internal security. The headline says that draft laws on refugee rights need revision. Now, firstly, you should know that what is India's refugee policy, the ramifications of the lack of specific legislation governing the refugee and asylum seekers. Also, What are the constitutional rights entitled to refugee and asylum seekers, and what lies ahead or the way forward? Well, this should be known to you, and that's all coming from the Hindu edition today. You guys take care, keep smiling. Thank you so much.